They will manufacture human life through somatic cell nuclear transfer and who knows what other technologies. They will be designing and creating human life solely to destroy human life for experimentation, and they want our money for it. Worse yet, they will engineer all different types of humans, those with less intelligence and more brawn, a race of soldiers, those with pure beauty, those with off-the-charts intelligence, and then we have the issues of who owns them. Who owns and controls these engineered humans? Do they have rights? Embryonic stem cell research is a giant leap toward this brave new world. What if your daughter needed a new heart? To what length would you go to help save her life? Another danger is the chimera, which is the term for human-animal hybrids. The UK is already doing this. The semantics change, leaving no objective truths. We now hear the term pre-embryo. Pre-embryo. Pre-embryo is sperm and egg. But the scientists have used this term, and they use it at in vitro clinics to confuse us and to change the debate. In Texas, in our end-of-life battles, we now hear the term pre-terminal. Well, we're all pre-terminal, really. We're all terminal, actually. We're not even pre-terminal. We're all terminal. New semantics and vocabulary shroud the truth. These terms are politically expedient and they have no basis in science and medicine. Another assault on human life, which has been tried, it hasn't been wildly successful, but it's still undergoing, is this altered nuclear transfer. So what happens is the somatic cell nuclear transfer process is used, but the embryos are not allowed to grow very much because the scientists alter them. So now the scientists are creating embryonic mutants. We also are at risk of the exploitation of women. They don't want my eggs. I'm too old. There are ads on college campuses in the newspapers for women to sell their eggs to in vitro clinics and to laboratories. I can't remember the number. It's either 4,000 or 40,000. I think it's 4,000 eggs were needed for Dolly the sheep. And that only produced one sheep. So do the math on the exploitation of women for their eggs. Another danger is a cloning police. If the science is perfected and somebody mixes up the embryos and all of a sudden you're carrying a cloned human embryo, who's going to know if your embryo is cloned, if your embryo was created through in vitro, or if your embryo was conceived the old-fashioned way? And if it's discovered that you're carrying a cloned human embryo, or a cloned human baby, are you then going to be forced to abort? The Justice Department has decried what are known as clone and kill laws, and those laws allow for somatic cell nuclear transfer. But these laws mandate the killing of these embryos at 10 or 14 or 21 days. The Justice Department published a letter that, of course, has been buried and not very many people know about because they said it's unenforceable. We cannot go into a laboratory and distinguish between somatic cell nuclear transfer embryos, in vitro embryos, and embryos that were made the other way. So these are unenforceable. But the most damaging effect of the biotech assaults on human life is that human life is reduced to a commodity. We put a price and a value on humans. And you and I are forced to decide if we value our disabled nieces or daughters or sick brother's life more than we value a human embryo. What if the research fails on the first embryo? Will you tell the scientists when you're holding your ailing daughter's hand, try 3 more? Try 1,000 more. Are 1,000 failed attempts enough to satisfy you? What if the scientists say, well, we're close, we let the embryo go to 14 days, but now we need 30 days? What about 6 months? What about 9 months? When faced with these questions, we must ask and definitively decide, what is human life? What does it mean to be human? Person or property? Who will decide? Who will benefit? To whom do we choose to assign value? For if we devalue one human life, we devalue all human life, and we are all at risk. This is a fatal decision for us as individuals and for our families and for our culture. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you. This young lady would like to know what the goal of the chimera is, and that's actually a great question because I really don't have any idea. I think, like scientists, just want to keep going. There might be, I actually think I've heard there's the wanting to grow spare body parts. And when you do somatic cell nuclear transfer with humans, there is, sorry for this, mitochondrial residue. And they think it could be improved with animals, but then you have animal mitochondrial residue. So I just think it's a scientific avenue that scientists find worthy of pursuing. I mean, if you think about an animal-human hybrid, you really could create a race with more brawn, with low intelligence, who could be an army. Yes, it sounds freaky, but the UK's doing it. I have not seen the article. I've seen the headline. So I do think there is a pressure around states and even on the federal government, but sadly we're not successful right now at pressuring the federal government to move funding to the induced pluripotent because that is what's successful. That is what has been successful. And California moved a small fraction of their money. They didn't move a significant amount, but it still is newsworthy. That slide actually came from David Prentice, who is one of the nation's leading experts on stem cell research. He does cell biology at Indiana University, and he now spearheads the life sciences department at Family Research Council. So I could ask him, but since my guess is that because it came from him, it's probably well cited and credentialed.
I just thought it paid you.
Great questions. She asked if the chimeras, the human-animal hybrids, have actually been made and birthed, and they're working on the science of fusing the two. So none have been birthed, but there has been fusion. And the second question of have human clones been made? Our understanding is that there are attempts to do the somatic cell nuclear transfer because there is no ban on that. Some states have a little bit of a ban, but it's not comprehensive enough because the science changes. So if you write a law that says, just like partial birth abortion, we now know they're using another type of late-term abortion for late-term babies. Nonetheless, the somatic cell nuclear transfer is being done. And
Producing no results.
well, they want to play God. It was sort of, and correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth, asking about the motivation and why the media hides or continues to push and why the government continues to push for embryonic and why the celebrities are on board, what really is their motivation for it. Is that?
Yeah.
And what we've seen and what we've personally experienced in our Capitol and with other legislators is that scientists want to play God. They don't want any doors closed to their research or their work. The financial incentive, because if you can patent the process of human cloning, the pharmaceutical companies, I mean, who wouldn't invest in that? I mean, we wouldn't, but outside of these rooms, probably a lot of people would. And they say there's the issue of wanting to control them, but there's also availability. The scientists don't have to go to in vitro clinics if they can manufacture their own embryos right there, right before they kill them. So there are a lot of motivating factors, and I really just think it's designing and engineering human life. I think that's what it boils down to. Well, educate yourself. That's always the first and foremost. I'm always surprised at those who are pro-life who don't understand Not necessarily the science, but that embryos are in fact human life, no matter how small. So I would educate yourself. I would meet with your legislators, your hostile or otherwise. It doesn't hurt to make an appointment. I'm a concerned citizen. I'd like to talk to you about embryonic stem cell research. Here are the proven benefits. Would you consider funding adult stem cell research or induced pluripotent? Take scientists to meet with your legislators and policymakers. You could ask your pastor if you can hold a seminar or a forum on that. Bring patients who have been treated with adult stem cell therapies. There are a lot of different ways. You can, in Texas, there is this group of associated folks who ordinarily would not be associated, so kind of like the pro-life movement. We have lots of people from all different walks. But it's all the disease advocacy groups with scientists and with medical centers and with universities, and they've banded together for they call themselves Texans for the Advancement of Medical Research. And so I would suggest looking for coalitions, building a coalition of other groups on our side, because there is strength in numbers. So Oregon Right to Life, or a group of moms, or a group of patients, or a group of pro-life doctors, or a group of pro-life scientists, scholars, who could make a united front just to educate, to meet with legislators, and to send emails or write letters to other citizens. And pray. I should have said that first. Always pray. That always comes first in our line of work. Yes, sir? I thought of that as I was walking down here, that I should have put that in my little show. Stemcellresearch.org is the best. I think it's the most comprehensive. Stemcellresearch.org. And actually, there's another one, Stem Cell Research Cures. I think that one's a .com. Those are the two. The stemcellresearch.org lists new advances in technology, both adult and embryonic. They have feature lots of patient stories. They talk about the funding. There's a resource there for other states' laws as well as international laws. It's run by the Discovery Institute, and all those folks are pro-life, but they just call themselves something else so it doesn't look pro-life. David Prentice is a member of the Discovery Institute and on the board, as is Wesley J. Smith. So I think that's the best one. I can't say I've researched it on Oregon Right to Life's site, but I suspect that there would be some resources there. Any other questions? Well, you all have been a delightful crowd. Thank you for the warm welcome. For the cool welcome.